Thanks everyone.
Good evening everyone. My name's Chris Hocking. I work with the Strategic Planning and Development team of Roads ACT with colleague Ben McHugh. Tonight here to talk about the corridor active travel improvement program. With a lot of these projects we're at an intermediate design phase, and we're considering now consultation and letter drops with the community, so we thought this would be a good opportunity to brief the North Canberra Community Council. Everyone probably knows what active travel is. It appears to be a bit of a buzz concept of late, but essentially it's travel by getting around on your own steam. It's promoting physical activity in travel, and you can imagine there's a range of health benefits that people are keen to promote. It's primarily targeted at walking and cycling, but active travel also covers public transport journeys too, because people get more active walking to and from the trip. Then the corridor. The civic, or the city to the Gungahlin corridor has really been, I suppose, quite a focus for transport and land use investment in the ACT, and that's where the focus of this investment is today on the corridor. At a sort of a city planning level, we've got the planners at the planning directorate looking at integrated transport and land use urban design framework, trying to create a bigger picture for smaller investments like footpath and ramp upgrades. And this is their goal at the active travel connections. They've noted that there's opportunities for a lot of east-west connections, and then also tying it into the north-south. So that's really the framework by which we start this active travel investment program. Just the investment context, where we are today, how this project's been funded. So, the 15-16 budget's just been handed down, but this time last year, the TAMS, Territory Municipal Services, inherited a bucket of money for corridor improvements, and that was a lot to do with the decision on to proceed with light rail. And the need to create bus interchanges in Gungahlin and Dixon. So that the allocation of money is administered by the Metro Agency Board with support from all the other directorates. And in recent months we've got consensus that we've got two projects that relate to active travel, and that's the Northbourne Avenue refurbishment precinct, and then the corridor active travel improvement. So that's sort of the basis of and the budget really for what's to be spent. This is the refurbishment precinct. It's essentially we've picked this area. It's essentially the verge areas of Northbourne Avenue, starting from Barry Drive, going up to the top of Hay Park. We're conscious of planned work for the median if the light rail proceeds, but this project is really to consolidate what is quite an established area of Northbourne Avenue, and that in the future we then set the precedent for the verge works for works up towards Dixon. So as you can see, this is the Northbourne Avenue verges at the moment. They're not ideal. It could be a lot better. It's at the front of Hay Park. What we've found from observations is that there's ample room to get in a nice new wide concrete path, and we feel that that concrete path, excuse my SketchUp, but it should provide ample room without going to the road environment to allow groups of people and cyclists to all interact in the verges in a relatively low speed environment. But really, the demonstrate or the refurbishment precinct is the most part of it for the active travel is the footpaths, but we're also going to be putting in new lighting and realigning the location of the existing lights to the same alignment of the trees, which means in the future, should we decide to do a Marcus Clark style separated cycleway in what's a pretty urban area, we have that space to do it as well. So sort of future proofing. Then again, the lighting, we're in the process of talking about lighting types with the National Capital Authority, and again, the decision on trees, that I think is the subject of a future cabinet submission to get some consensus on tree planting species for the verge. So that's really the refurbishment precinct in a nutshell. And then onto the corridor active travel, which is really the focus of today. The objective really is to get the inner north of Canberra moving more, and in particular walking and cycling connectivity to the future planned rail stations. So in light of that, we've come up with some investment evaluation criteria, and really we're focusing in and around the stations. We're looking at the density and the diversity of land use, and the relationship to the existing walking and cycling network as sort of key drivers, and then also access for all, making sure that people with all abilities can use the network. I suppose, just picking up on that, we had an opportunity to jump in and do some works on Sanford Street. There's indications there'll be a new station there, and subsequently we jumped in and we put in 50 new metres of footpath and 13 curb ramps where there were no ramps before. And the logic was that this is an evolving industrial area, and we focused on Sanford Street, and I mean this is really the product. These were just curbs before, no ramps, and so now you can pretty much get from the cemetery down to the street, with a pram or a wheelchair, and now get your way to the station. So that's really what we're trying to do. And as we go back to Northbourne Avenue, now we're at the corner of Condamine and Pima Street on Northbourne Avenue. We've got a future planned rail stop there. So these red dots are pram ramp replacements, and so it's really just honing in on the station and replacing an old 1.5 metre path and putting in a 2.5 metre wide path. The dash line is an active travel street. We're looking at putting in the directional arrows with the bike symbols and promoting that street for cycling. So that's sort of. And then I suppose
so does that mean that parking in Forbes Street will be stopped?
No, it'll.
So how can you have an actual road cycling track with that, and cars parked? It's just a single lane each way.
Yeah, you can't have vehicles. Yeah, you have the vehicle parked, and then I suppose the vehicle will need to wait for.
No, they park on the street.
Yeah,
cars are parked on the street.
Yeah, so that's right.
It's a terrible street because of all the car parking on that street.
Yeah, but
at this stage, there's parking along one side of Forbes Street at the moment.
There's parking on both sides in different sections.
Yeah. And I agree with you. It's quite narrow when cars are parked there, and you encounter oncoming vehicles. I work at Muckahatha House and ride my bike down there almost daily to the city. but I'd prefer to ride through that environment than in a bike lane on Hawthorne Avenue.
I agree, but if there's no cars parked on there, then bike riding along there and the cars can work much better.
Absolutely agree. A better solution would be to have no cars. The problem we've got is there is existing development that relies on the on-street parking for visitors and other uses. So at the moment, there's not a formal policy that would allow us to remove all of that parking, which provides that amenity for those adjacent residents and replace it with a bike lane at this point in time. Not saying it might not happen in the future, but we're looking at how to better improve that route and that safety.
Yeah, this is, I suppose, the station number 3, and then we'll just sort of work our way up the corridor. We're now at corner of MacArthur and Wakefield, and yeah, these people, I brought all the designs with me so people can have a look, but these are essentially the connections. That active travel street continues up to Sullivan's Creek, and then we've got an off-road link in the verge here to service the yeah. So it's really all about improving the connections to the station, and yeah, Condamine and MacArthur are two of the sort of very intense land use areas. So that's where we're focusing a lot of our investment.
Just on these east-west links,
Yes.
did you consider a path along the length of Hay Park as an east-west link, either for bikes and cars? The north-south bike paths are good, but the east-west ones aren't non-existent.
There is, I'll go back, maybe I'll get it, I don't think I will. So this active travel street goes through Hay Park, and then it will make a left along Masson, and then come up to the lights at Masson. But we haven't, the focus has been on connectivity to the stations.
I think there's a separate piece of work looking at Hay Park at the moment, which is not picked up in this particular.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
I completely agree. Hay Park is such a missed opportunity for a really great active east-west connection all the way across from right through to Ainsley. So something that we're looking at the moment.
yeah, we're trying to make this money spread to Gungahlin, so it's we have to focus on just bits and pieces here and there. Then yeah, Dixon is experiencing a lot of redevelopment, and there's a lot of uncertainty where the station, and so we kind of left Dixon alone, and then we moved up to Phillip Avenue. There'll be a stop here, and this is where I see a lot of demand for the potentially park and ride, because you've got Flemington Road and then Federal Highway, so it's a good opportunity for people to get onto that station. So we've come up with one option, and that's to make Phillip Avenue into a parking street. It already has on-road parking, but we're toying with the concept of removing a traffic lane and making it an on-road cycle lane. Yeah, we've had some tests with the community with this, but the Phillip Avenue is relatively busy, but yeah, we think it can manage it, but the next step is to really test this with the community and get people's opinion. But in principle, you know, having the ability for people to park on this street and then walk up to the station in a safe environment, likewise ride their bike, that's the philosophy behind what we're trying to achieve. But if we receive pushback from the motorists and local residents, then yeah, we'll have to reconsider that one.
Why are you getting them to drive to Phillip Avenue from wherever, then hop on to the...
Not getting to an all. In fact, people already park on Phillip Avenue and go and catch the bus. So we want to make sure that we formalise and make safe existing practice. We wouldn't be signposting and encouraging.
Well, why don't you put no parking to non-residents and keep them out and get them to get the public transport from wherever they are?
There's not currently a parking issue on Phillip Avenue.
There will be.
We haven't had any complaints. Could be in the future, but yeah, there's not.
Can we delay questions till after the presentation's finished, everyone? So it just makes it easier for it to flow, and that way, yeah, it's a bit more fair.
Yeah, I mean, here's we're on Mowat Street here. There's a high demand, people coming down Mowat on a not the best path to access the Sullivan's Creek or to get into Dixon. So we've seen an opportunity to upgrade a section of path there. And likewise, we've built this rock now. It's called the Village, or it's up in Hackett, that's Stirling Avenue. We built a shared path to here, and we see the opportunity to build to the end, almost to set a precedent for when this land use develops. We'll then get that connection right up to the next centre. And then I suppose up the Flemington Road corridor, we've picked up Sanford Street, but there's a few stations up towards Gungahlin, and they're very new. They don't really need a lot of new investment, but a scan of Gungahlin has picked up a few path connections there. So that's pretty much it. It's really looking to make a combination of path and on-road cycling improvements up and down the corridor, and that's the intention of the budget. So we try to spread it that way.
Okay, now questions. Okay.
Well, two things should never go together, concrete and trees. You're widening the paths and doubling them, but it looks like you're moving the concrete towards the trees, which means you're going to have big maintenance issues over time.
You can break the concrete, absolutely.
Yeah, conscious of that, and there are some techniques we can adopt. Like instead of digging out for the concrete, we can raise and put the base, and so the concrete path sits slightly higher than the tree. So we're trying to avoid the trunks and the
other thing too is people say riding their push bikes, they're going to be closer to the trees, I assume, when they're riding their push bikes.
Yeah, there is a minimum requirement, half a metre to the tree. So look, I've said 3 metres, but when you get out there, it might be 2.5 and 6 metres. But the intention is for that Northbourne Avenue is to really upgrade the verge and get more people on their bikes and on foot.
So there's a question over here.
It wasn't really a question, it was just sort of a gut reaction. I really like the idea of this walking and cycling being promoted, but there just seems to be some sort of a conflict. How do you reconcile this concept with a government that's pushing for greater and greater high density development and less car spaces? I mean, it's all very well to say, well, people shouldn't have cars, but they will. And many of them will need them. And if you've got, an extra 200 people in the area, well, there's an extra 200 cars.
Yeah,
you'll almost certainly have.
That's fine. I mean, all we're doing.
Well, where they're going to park though? Where they're going to be?
We're not proposing to take away any parking with this project. That's.
But you're not increasing it either.
Correct.
Sorry, there was one right
It
next.
was just a comment.
I think there's a very important principle that's been raised. We are an ageing population. We can't all ride bikes everywhere, although I still can, fortunately. My wife, unfortunately, got injured in the Canberra bushfires, and she has to travel by car where she goes. Yeah. It's no point in saying we can park the car 300 metres away. She can't walk that far. We have to make sure that in a population that's ageing, we have adequate transport for people who are getting older and need to have close parking to where they're going.
Yep.
Okay, we had 30 seconds. We're going to have a limit of 30 seconds per question, and it's got to be a question, okay, everyone? So, was there a question?
Yeah, how are you going to make sure that people that are ageing have got adequate car access, and that's virtually the only way they can get there, to the places where they want to go? A lot of spaces seem to be becoming very difficult.
Yeah. Chris, you want me to take that one? It's a good point, valid point. It's a little bit unrelated to what Chris is presenting on. He's presenting on a footpath and cyclist improvements project. That's a government policy question. I'll take it on notice if you like and get a response to the council.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you, appreciate
Okay,
that.
another question?
Seconds, okay. Walking and cycling network recycling, I love it, it's great, okay. Going in the right direction. The red stars in the middle of your presentation, stations for light rail network, politically correct to say so, to think so. You know, you've all planned that in. What about if light rail doesn't go ahead? There's a lot of opposition for all sorts of quarters. Have you got a plan B?
Yeah, so the intention is that any investment here wouldn't be considered redundant work.
Services the existing bus networks just as well.
Yeah, the pram ramps, the footpaths that are old and need replacing. So yeah, we're not intending on doing anything that would be seen as redundant if rail didn't occur.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
Liam.
You've only got a limited budget, and I can spend it like that and still have plenty of money. How are you going to make sure that the set of projects that you choose is the best value set of projects that give you the best bang for the amount of money available?
I mean, that's why I've developed this evaluation criteria, and it's all about honing in on where the highest points of activity are.
Yeah, but have you taken cost into account when you're making and prioritising projects?
Yeah, look, we wouldn't build a massive long path. It's all about pram ramp replacements, widening.
But what if a massive long path was more cost effective than a pram ramp?
Was there a rule about multiple questioning?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can provide a more detailed explanation on the evaluation criteria for this particular project.
Okay.
And it's got a different set of objectives than how we would typically evaluate some other projects.
Thanks. At the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned improved amenities in Hay Park. Can you tell me what they might have been?
Yeah. So for the refurbishment precinct, it's purely looking at the verges on North Avenue.
Okay.
For this project.
Yeah, there is another piece of work looking at access within the park at the moment, and there's a separate program works covering that. So if you want more information, we're happy to share.
Thank you.
Any thoughts about people that want to bike to the light rail station park and then get on the transport?
That's the principal philosophy.
So like lockable.
Yeah. So
Places where you can lock up, that sort of stuff.
yeah.
The
Haven't gone that far.
CMA, one of their commitments is to provide either bike parking or bike transportation opportunities on the light rail. The existing infrastructure, there are bike racks at most of the Red Rapid stops along the corridor. We did a program 3 or 4 years ago where we went and introduced bike racks along those stops. So.
I'm interested in the street lighting.
Yes.
I'm hoping that you'll tell me that it's going to be LED lighting with many tens of thousands of hours life, because at the moment the ACT government doesn't seem to have the money to replace lamps that go out.
So the policy is LED, yes.
Yeah.
So these will last much longer.
They come with a 10-year warranty.
I can't understand the problems in the existing lighting. But
Yeah, the new investment will be LED.
And improved, I guess importantly, improved lighting for the paths. At the moment there's no path lighting along North Avenue, and the tree canopies make it quite dark.
so you get the double side.
Yeah, so you get the double effect.
Yeah.
I'm going to butt in with one question, and that is the fact that Dixon just somehow, I know you said there were a number of things, and I guess to me it's a big question, because I just did a little test ride on my bicycle through the so-called, whatever this pedestrian loop, path's going to be, east-west, very difficult to navigate, and I don't know if that's why you haven't pursued it, or I would have thought that maybe this would be, you put this in first, and other things would be built around it.
Do you want me to answer that one?
Yeah.
With the refurbishment project on the avenue, we wanted to invest in a location where it was unlikely that future development was going to occur in that length. So if you look at Dixon, particularly on the Dixon side of Northbourne, there's a number of future development sites that have been identified or to be developed, and there's a new bus station planning to go in there as well. So we wanted to try and avoid areas where there was going to be an opportunity for a developer or someone else to come along and improve that infrastructure, and focus on areas where what we invest now will be there for a period and be utilised and undamaged. So that's, you know, there's 3 government projects I know of that are looking at that particular length of North Mornington Dixon.
I had a good walk through Dixon and wanted to provide a connection to the Lyon School, but it's all because all the kids get off south of Murdoch Street, and now the station's going to go north, so the connection through, it's uncertain where the stop's going to be, if there is going to be one. So it's sort of,
I guess the reason I was asking that was because, and it's all in relation to the DA and the Coles Doma building, was that you see an earlier Dixon plan, you can see this very prominent east-west path. And then you notice when the DA goes in that it's almost as if it's not there anymore, and you would think that that path would be sacrosanct, and then the developments would come in around it, you see. It almost looks like it's going the other way around.
that's what's happening in Gungahlin.
Anyway, I don't want to monopolize it. I guess my concern is to make sure that the development goes off these pathways rather than the pathways having to zigzag around every development that comes in.
It's a good point. The Dixon Master Plan identifies that east-west trunk pedestrian spine really clearly, but it stops at Chalice Street and is blocked by existing development. It'd be interesting to see if we might be able to punch that through when some of these future developments occur. And I guess the extension of Cape Street before the new bus station will provide a really great new active travel connection through to North Lawn as well, which doesn't exist at the moment. So it's somewhere definitely keep an eye on.
Yeah, okay, thanks for that. One more question if anyone has one. Otherwise, I guess we'll let you go. Thank you very much for that. Okay, yeah.
Couldn't say it.
Oh, okay, then we'll just do that right now.